broken wasteland. Come to my fire and place your blood and steel upon my pyre. Oh.
What's going on, metalheads? Thank you all for tuning into this week's episode of the Metal Forge. My name is Mark Jackson and I am your host. Holy hell, this is awesome. So this week's guest is Dylan Nightingale from the band Treazon, band on the Big Goddamn Metal Show this year, along with Vexing Hex, Joe Grudge, Free Warren, Lavaborn, Rat King, Ice Howl, Idle Throne, Wind Rider, Midnight Hellion, Ohm, and Sanhedrin. Wow, so many awesome deal. And the next few weeks are gonna have bands from the Big Goddamn Metal Show on the show, featuring interviews from Joe Grudge. Ice Howl was last week, obviously, and Free Warren on October 11th. So they're going to be doing their thing right before the show. So I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully you all are looking forward to it. Tickets are going pretty quick, so get yours now. It's going to be a fucking blast. Obviously, we do have some hot sauce available on the Bandcamp page. It is killer. Go do all the things and all the stuff. So, because we're looking at some awesome fucking bands over the next couple of weeks on the way to another Big Goddamn Metal Show, make sure you check out the archives where Ohm, Sanhedrin, Midnight Hellion, Wind Rider, Idle Throne, Vexing Hex have all been on the show. So, you know, they've all been interviewed, they're all here, they're all playing the show. Some of them coming from New York, some of them coming straight from Louisville here. So check it out, metalforgeradio.com, get all your stuff there, flamekeeper.vip, do all the things and all the stuff. Let's listen to some Treazon. This is Lady of the Night. All right, metalheads, we are here this week with Dylan Nightingale from the band Treason from Bowling Green, Kentucky. Southern Kentucky, if you don't know. I'm from well, I don't even think it's considered Louisville's considered northern Kentucky, like up by like Cincinnati, northern or whatever. But
Yeah.
dude, what the fuck's up? You're down by Nashville.
Well, actually, technically, we're based out of Glasgow, Kentucky, because me and Brody are both more or less from that area.
Right on.
Um, we did in our previous lineup have a couple members from Bowling Green area, but now it's kind of just back to me and Brody as permanent members. We have some fill-ins, for live stuff like your upcoming Another Big Goddamn Metal show. We'll
Yes,
probably end up,
another big
yeah.
goddamn metal show. I'm going to show that off on the screen really fast. The Vlad's Blood Orange sauce from Peril
Uh,
Hot Sauce. Just got
that's
those
sick.
in a couple of weeks back by the time this is
Nice.
airing, and there's very few left. So already.
Uh,
But before we get into like the inner workings of the band and everything, you say Glasgow. I remember Glasgow from being a kid and there being a racetrack down there. And my dad would always want to go down there and race back in the day, kind of thing. So total cool stuff. And I have friends from that area as well.
Yeah,
Um, so that's kind of, that's Southern Kentucky still,
yeah,
kind of midst of nowhere type of BFE type. Like I'm from BFE, Indiana and stuff.
yeah,
Um, when you get into being in a band from a small place like that, and you're still relatively young.
yeah,
How is the scene down there for bands such as like Treason or any other new
yeah.
like metal
I
bands?
I don't really want to say anything bad about the area. It's
Sure,
definitely not the best for heavy metal, especially like, our style of heavy metal, which is traditional heavy metal. Um, Really the only venue in town that consistently books like harder rock acts is AJ's place, which we did play a show at with our previous lineup not too long ago.
right,
Um, But there isn't really a whole lot of young bands around here, especially not doing like metal. Like there's cover bands and like blues, southern rock type of bands, which do have younger guys. Like um there's these kids called Guilty. They're just doing like regular southern rock type of stuff. They're
right
pretty
on.
nice. And then I mean Otis are obviously, older than me, but they have Dale on drums now, who's the guy who actually introduced me to Brody. But that's pretty much it as far as like younger bands.
Sure. So when it comes to doing shows and like, because I said you're a younger guy, you're in your 20s still.
Yeah,
You haven't quote been disillusioned by the metal scene and shit like that as some of us older people would say, but I think disillusionment versus wishful thinking,
yeah,
you got to have the reality of what you're wanting to accomplish, but regardless of that and aside from that, when I say things on the show like you have to there's no new 40-year-olds coming out to clubs looking for bands. You've
yeah,
got to play all ages shows and stuff like that. You know, in a place where you're from, I'm sure that's just as hard because no younger kids seem to be coming out either, do they?
yeah, yeah.
I
It's
mean, do
kind of
you
a
have
mixed
places
bag.
down there to for kids to come out to shows and stuff?
Like, I mean, AJ's is technically an all ages like pub venue, but it is mostly, at least when we play there, it does seem to be mostly like people more in like their 30s upwards, which I mean,
Sure,
obviously isn't bad because I mean, nowadays 30 is obviously still pretty young, but there's just not really any other all ages venues I can think of like that would actually book metal or rock shows, really.
definitely. Yeah, and being in my day with that, there was none of that stuff for me either, like
Yeah.
20 years ago type stuff. So what we did, we improvised. We rented places like
Mm.
stupid fucking park shelter houses and fucking just did crazy shit to where we could find shows. And then we finally got a person who his mom signed a lease on an old laundromat, and they started putting on shows there, and it was like all graffitied up, but it ended up being a drug front
Oh my God.
anyways. So, and none of the kids except like knew about it until like after the fact that it got busted or whatever. So that's like total fucking old
Amazing.
school memory type shit. But dude, let's talk about
Hmm.
Treason. Okay, so like obviously you played a show back in March for me and the Metal
Yeah.
Forge, Metal Night 2 at Art Sanctuary.
Hmm.
Total fun times, big stage, and you all had a
Yeah, it was.
pretty damn good reception out of that show,
I remember for
which
sure.
it was awesome because you all had went up, you had sound checked. We were running, everybody was running a little bit behind. We finally got doors open and people started coming in, and like, I think you all were the highlight of the night that night. And I don't know
Thank
if it
you.
was because
Thank you
of
for
the
that.
traditional heavy metal sound that you
Hmm.
had, and you were not as extreme metal,
Yeah.
but when you decided in what was it, 2021, when Treason you put together?
I I kind of erroneously said we formed in 2021 because like our first demo was just me and Brody with a hired singer, and like I'd been jamming with him since 2021. Like we kind of started off like I already basically knew the style of music we were gonna do. Luckily, when I was introduced to Brody, because like I only knew Brody liked Yngwie Malmsteen and Van Halen, so like that could have meant his taste was like anything really.
Sure.
But like I talked to him and he knew bands like 220 Volt and Heavy Load, which, really surprised me because those were some of my favorite bands, still
Yeah,
are.
not a lot of people can go out and
Yeah.
spout out Heavy Load as a
Yeah.
as an influence,
Yeah, not
unless
around
you're
here.
looking for it.
Yeah, for sure. So we were playing covers of bands like Zone Zero, Swedish heavy metal band from the early 80s. We played covers of Magnesium and Gorgon, some
Nice.
Japanese obscure, metal bands. I think we played like Sword of Ledge covers, Witch Cross. Um, I know Brody's really into Merciful Fate. I don't remember if we did cover a Merciful Fate song, but we
Which
would
would be
just
awesome
we would
because,
just
hey,
we would just
I
jam
got the
like
king on my
stuff like
arm
that.
right here. So the
Nice,
king shares a special place in the music. So
nice.
I
Yeah, but
totally get it.
we basically just covered, old school Scandinavian heavy metal, French metal bands, a couple NWOTHM bands, and like Jap or I already mentioned Japanese metal, didn't I? French heavy
You're
metal.
an Iron Maiden fan, aren't you?
Iron Maiden was like the first band I really got into. Can blame my dad for that. He was one of those guys that got into Iron Maiden like back in the Paul Di'Anno era, and so that's what I grew up
Sure.
listening to. I mean, obviously, I like both Bruce and Paul Di'Anno era Iron Maiden, but obviously my favorite is going to be the Paul Di'Anno stuff.
Interesting.
Um, and
Because it holds a special place because it's something that you and your dad
yeah,
bonded
and
over.
I think
I get that.
kind of as pretentious as it is to say, the more raw style of the early stuff is what I always preferred. And from there
Sure.
on, as a kid, I found out about new wave of British heavy metal because of, mainly being into Iron Maiden. Um, from there on, I found like all the bands like Holocaust, Diamond Head, Angel Witch, Praying Mantis. And then like from there, because I already knew, some like German heavy metal bands, like Accept was one of the first metal bands I ever heard. Restless and Wild, I think, was like the song where I heard it and I was like, wow, heavy metal is all I want to listen to.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And well, the reason why I brought that up and why I said you were a Maiden fan and without even asking is because you had said a word that I've only heard Maiden fans say,
What was that?
new album.
Oh yeah, yeah, because a lot of
It's
people
it,
say
I
new
think
wave of
Bruce
British heavy metal.
Dickinson coined new album as a word. I think he was one of the first people I ever heard say it.
Like to say the acronym that way?
Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I think it was what was it? Was it Cream or Sounds? Like one of those British rock magazines technically coined like new wave of British heavy metal.
Sure.
But yeah,
Yeah,
I've only heard
naming it
like
that, but the saying the
yeah,
acronym like you would say NASCAR, NWOBM,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I actually picked that up just like watching random like collector like old collector Gen X and Boomer guys.
Nice.
I haven't heard them
Nice.
say
Yeah, yeah,
NWOTHM, and I
yeah,
was like,
yeah.
you guys are
It's
really trying
okay.
to
I
diss?
get you, pal. I feel targeted all of a sudden. No. No, honestly, I am definitely the collector as well.
Yeah,
I'm the where I am still technically a millennial.
yeah,
Excuse me. I am still a collector, just in a different sense. I collect albums and I collect interviews.
yeah.
And, having Brian Tatler on the show back
Oh,
in
nice.
February, was that, I think that might have been even last year now that I think about it. Uh, yeah, total
I
cool stuff to
I
talk
think I
to.
saw that and meant to watch it, but I think at that time I was busy trying to get, music shit together. So
Sure, sure, sure. Now, recently you all have had you've got a fill-in vocalist doing some
yeah,
things because the previous and you both had, you parted ways, whatever. I knew you all
yeah,
were looking. So obviously we're here today because
mhm,
this is promoting a big goddamn metal show.
yeah,
Um 12 bands over 2 days at Mag Bar, and you guys are playing how like what's the when you do these festivals, because I know you just did Blades of Steel, which is
yeah.
total fucking badass festival. Shout out to Randy. I've got
No, it
my
was awesome.
flyer. My flyer's framed on the other side of the room. I've got to put it up because I've moved it around a couple of times. And so it's a fucking trek up there. It's
Yeah.
fun, don't get me wrong, but it is a trek. How was your all's run up there?
I mean, I won't lie with having to find fill-in drummer, fill-in singer on very short notice. It was definitely stressful for me.
Sure.
Um, but no, Randy really believed in us. So, and he told me, I don't know if it was necessarily confidential. I hope I don't upset him saying that. But I mean, he said he would have been fine, like if we never found a singer and like as long as we just showed up. Like he really respected that like with
Sure.
all the trouble I had. So, yeah, because like, he had told me not only did he respect me for that, but I mean, the main reason he booked us was he just thought we were doing something kind of different than I don't know if he necessarily meant other new wave of traditional heavy metal bands, but he just thought like our very first demo on Black Ritz Records was very unique.
Sure. Yeah. And I agree with him on that. Being there and doing all the things and all the stuff, as they say,
Yeah,
you know, even just showing up and not canceling, I think proves your weight in gold to a promotion.
yeah,
And whether or not it is, I get that there are things that just cannot happen,
yeah,
but there's always a time frame to be respectful for both parties, I think.
mhm,
Enough time to put on the alternate list and not give somebody a day in advance kind of thing.
yeah, for sure.
Um, but no, I totally don't think that would have been a confidentiality thing with Randy. I think that, I respect the hell out of that as well. Even if
Thank
you
you.
would have come and played an instrumental set,
Yeah,
or would have done something, I think that is bang right there. That is awesome.
mhm,
So even at Big Goddamn Metal Show, I would say that if y'all didn't even have a fill-in vocalist, even if you came and played instrumental, that would be totally fine with me, because your all's music is different, and it
thanks.
and it is something that it's different than the other people in the genre
Mhm,
today. the
thank
the
you.
Haunts, the Seven Sisters, those bands, they have their styles
Yeah,
just as much as, bringing in the Midwesticism to it, I
mhm,
think is a thing.
yeah, that makes sense. Um, for me, it's kind of because like a lot of the new wave of traditional metal bands now, it's like they're all, and I don't mean it in a bad way. It's just like they either like have only new wave of British heavy metal influence, or they kind of just like go straight for that like US power metal or like epic metal style, and I feel like kind of doing something that's more in between. Because I
Sure.
mean, most of my favorite heavy metal, like I mean, part of me wants to be elitist and go, oh, my favorite stuff is before 1984, but honestly, a lot of my favorite stuff is like that
Before
mid.
1984.
Yeah, well, I mean it is, but a lot of my favorite stuff is like the continental European stuff, like the bands that were like a couple of years too late, maybe, like
Sure.
mid 80s heavy metal style. And obviously, I'm not like oh, I can only listen to true metal because I mean I like AOR, melodic metal, and some glam metal bands. So it's like I kind of like incorporating some elements of that, but
Right.
still staying in the same vein of the bands I consider top influences.
Well, and I will say this about Wayne, the
Mhm,
previous singer,
mhm,
is yeah, at watching him at that show in March at Art Sanctuary,
mhm.
he totally had some, you know, some Vince Neil vibe
Yeah,
going on. He totally had some of the glam rock, glam metal stuff going on, which is totally cool.
yeah,
That I think when genre, subgenre stuff happen, I love mixed band bills,
yeah.
obviously, because that's what the big goddamn metal show is about mixed metal.
And
And
Blades of Steel is kind of like that too.
I think that's ultimately what a lot of these festivals today are about as well,
Yeah,
is just because you might not like so and so, or you might not like black metal, but there is a black metal band on the show
yeah,
that could see. I'm not a big fan of black metal personally, and that's
yeah,
like my inbox is like blown up with from people is total black metal, and it's like god damn. And I love it, don't get me wrong. I would
yeah.
rather much have those in my inbox than nothing at all, but
No, for
like
sure.
there's different things for different people, and different people like all kinds of different things.
Yeah.
That's what I've tried to sit there and say, just be true to what you make, the art that you create,
Mhm.
and your friends will dig it. You will gain a fandom. You will have people that dig it, and you will have lifelong relationships made from it.
Yeah.
I mean, at least that's in my experience. I don't know if
No,
that
no,
works for everybody.
it seems that way to me because I mean, and I don't mean this in a bad way about the last two singles we released because I mean I like those songs a lot, but I still think like it seems the most reception we get online is still for the very first demo. I don't know if
Hmm.
it's, mostly because that's a full-length demo, because obviously some people are kind of confused by the fact we did demo singles.
Sure.
And like a lot of people just thought they were like, professionally recorded singles, which I mean, I understand constructive criticism, but like a
You
lot of
did a
people,
very old school mentality way of doing it.
yeah,
You put out a demo tape,
yeah,
is what you did. And people don't do that anymore. You
yeah. A lot
know,
of bands, sorry if I'm interjecting
no,
too
no,
much, I
go
have a
ahead.
habit of that. A lot of bands nowadays, like even smaller bands that don't seem like, they're connected to any other pre-established bands. A lot of bands
Sure.
do seem to just kind of like jump into like self-recording something and releasing it as a full-length album, or like regardless if they have a record deal or not. Whereas
Right.
me, like not only with, you know, being a little self-depreciative, but my kind of like lack of having the proper like studio gear to do that. It's like I'd rather just do a demo, put that out, because Emil, the guy who ran Black Ritz, I don't believe he's doing it now. Uh, he's actually sent our stuff like fairly recently to all these different labels. And a lot
Nice.
of them were interested. Just the thing is, they want to hear a full-length album. Yeah,
Sure.
so that's
Well,
kind of what I'm working
and
on
and
now.
in this day and age, yeah, I mean that's where you get your collection of songs together of what you play, and you just present.
Yeah.
I mean, the reason I like Treason,
Mhm.
yeah, that rhymed. Uh, But no, seriously, the reason about it is because, like I said, because the sound is different. And even still, it sounds like something I could have found in somebody's tape collection at an estate sale that I went to, which is fucking rad as shit. And the fact that you did release your first singles on cassette, that is something else that a lot of people they don't particularly do today. It's always got to be the digital, it's always got to be the thing. And yeah, that can come in a
Yeah.
minute and get there, but to have like a cassette as your physical media versus, going to Kunaki and getting 100 CDs made.
Yeah, I remember actually when I was auditioning people for the band after we released it and started getting a little bit of hype online. Um, there was quite a few people who were like, "Why do you guys have tapes? Nobody listens to tapes now." And I was just like, "Uh, that's not exactly
Bullshit.
the case because like,
People listen to tapes all the time. I
yeah,
mean,
and it's been a big thing. I knocked something over. It's been a big thing in like the DIY punk and metal scene, like what since the early 2010s, like the whole tape
yeah,
revival.
yeah, about a decade ago.
Yeah.
And I talked to a guy who ran a studio when this tape craze first started, probably back in 2013, 2014. And I had said to him, I was like, Richie, dude, what the fuck, man? Like, what is it? Like, tapes are coming back. It's like, this is like the second or third band that I've
Yeah.
seen do tapes. And he's like, honestly, I asked about that. And it's like a lot of these kids today, and this is a decade ago, by the way.
Yeah.
So a lot of these kids today are getting those hand me down 93 and 94 Corollas that have tape decks in them
That would make
still.
sense actually. Yeah.
And they're not doing the CD players or anything like we did. So they want to have their friends are making tapes so they can do that. And I was like, dude, that's pretty fucking ingenious. And it's like it made me remember when the home CD burning craze started. I remember it was like I was like 13 years old and a friend of mine brought over his band's demo disc.
Hmm.
And I was just like, dude, what the fuck? Where did you get that made? He's like, I did it on my computer at home. We could do this now. We could fucking print anything. And it's just like, holy shit. And then, just going from there
Yeah.
and learning that technology. And it's something that's cool that you're incorporating with Treazon today.
Yeah, I want to figure out because I know there's quite a few different places I could get tapes made. If we do any ever like
Look up Unchained
EP.
Tapes. Chevy McQuaid out of Skulovich and Bastard Cross
Okay.
in Philly. He's a sponsor of the Metal Forge, friend of the Metal Forge. Definitely check him out.
Okay, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Because
Even
next time
even if you book a tour, play a show with this guy because I think you all would go great with Skulovich, actually.
I've heard of that band. I've been meaning to like actually look into them, but
Hmm.
I've seen it mentioned a bit online.
Oh hell yeah.
But
But if you were to do let's get hypothetical here.
mhm.
It is time for the full length. Do you
That's what a
want to
lot of
do
people.
CDs? Do you only want to do cassette and vinyl? I
No,
mean,
I would definitely do CDs because there's a lot of markets where, people still buy CDs. Like Japan, for example, they have those like Blu-ray spec CDs or whatever they are.
oh sure, yeah.
And there's also some
It's like
guys,
super HD audio.
yeah, there's some guys that still prefer CD. And I mean, even though CD isn't like my go-to physical format right now, like I mean, if it's a smaller band and all they have is CDs, of course I'm gonna buy a CD.
Sure.
I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who like with my band because we're not an older, more established band, they're gonna be like a little bit hesitant to spend more money on like a vinyl, but they're not, in the cassette, so they'll buy the CD. So yeah,
Definitely.
I'd totally get CDs made. It's just like with Victim of Treason, it's only 3 songs. So it felt kind of weird doing that on a CD, if that makes sense. Uh, um,
No, I get that. And
yeah.
I've been that guy where I've released a CD with 3 songs on it. I have been that guy. Um, so as 2024 is drawing to a close, obviously, by the big goddamn metal show, which is October 12th
Mm.
and 11th of October. Goddamn, get that out of my get that came out weird. Um, so and then you got the rest of October, November, and December. What is Treason looking forward to the rest of the year and to start 2025 with?
Yeah, my current plans are to write material for a full-length album. I still have a bunch of songs that are like pretty much entirely written. I just need to, you know, get a new singer, first of all. That's my main concern. I mean, worst case scenario, if I have to do it again, I'll hire, another singer just to record. It's not ideal, but I mean, there's a lot of bands out there like I mean, mostly like the shred guys like Ingve or like Chris and Pilipari,
Sure.
where they kind of like have a revolving door of singers, or like,
Yeah.
Rainbow or Deep Purple. So, like, worst case scenario, I'll do that if I'm unable to find anybody here in Kentucky or somebody willing to come
Black
up from
Sabbath,
Tennessee.
even.
Yeah, no, don't get me started on that.
Are you a Dio purist or are you a Tony Martin guy?
Um, yeah, I like pretty much everything with or without Ozzy.
Not
Like my
everything
dad,
with or without Ozzy.
yeah, my dad
Nice.
played Born Again around me a lot as a kid, I remember.
Nice.
So it's
Yeah,
like I've
that
always been
I'm a huge
receptive.
Sabbath fan. I wear a Tony tattoo. I've seen
Nice.
them probably the most out of any band. I think of
I love my
out of
PFC and
bands that
Zero.
I've seen that are not locals,
Yeah,
or
yeah, of
and I
course.
and I hate to use the term local, but
I get what you're
that are
saying.
not from my inherent area. I think I've seen them professionally the most at four
Yeah.
times.
I'm one of those guys who liked Headless Cross before it was cool,
For
before the
sure.
box set.
No, I agree. Yeah, the Tony Martin stuff I totally dig. Uh I haven't got my box set yet, but I need to.
I haven't
Um
either because I've been blowing money on all the official Gotham City reissues.
Nice. Yes, exactly. So, and I've been blowing my money on, other shit too, stuff for the Metal Forge and stuff. So I totally get it.
Yeah.
But continue. Yeah, the revolving door of singers. Yeah, I totally get that. It's not ideal, but it is a thing that happens. And who knows, I've always thought, in this day and age, you don't have to stick to where you are.
Yeah. No, for sure,
You
because a lot of bands are. Sorry.
you could totally do with Brody being the other full-time member. Yeah, that's totally cool with you two. But like it just creates doing local shows harder, I think.
Yeah.
You would do it would almost be like if you did anything, you would have to do it like it would be a really special event, like it would be a Blades of Steel, and then booking shows around Blades of Steel,
Yeah.
which that might not be what you want to do with Treason. I get that.
Yeah. It's something I would really like, and it's unrealistic, sure. It is something I would really like to turn into a full-time thing. Because, and I don't mean it in a narcissistic way, just like the amount of momentum that we've been able to have, like even if right now things are not necessarily moving forward so much after Blades of Steel, or
Sure.
between Blades of Steel and your show, I should say. Um, we
Well, I
still
think
have a
it
crazy amount of
runs to a
reception.
plateau and then it jumps up and then it
Yeah,
jumps. Yeah, it's not like it's a straight or
of course. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I totally get what you're saying there. So yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things you get into that point where you're in a hold and then it jumps up and then you hold and then it jumps up and then it's like you've totally got plenty of time, especially if this is something like, Lemmy said something in a liner note that has always stuck with me about being too
Mhm.
old to start over in a band.
Yeah.
And it was on Another Perfect Day. So it was the first Brian Robertson
Yeah.
album. And it was on the reissue that I got. And it's like, and I read that when I was like 28 years old or whatever. And I was like, holy fuck, that's me like right now. And he was 38 when he said that. He had turned 38 when Fast Eddie Clark had left the band. And so yeah, being too old to start over, I mean, I totally get. So
Yeah, and I mean, at least in the metal scene, especially currently with at least like the new wave of traditional heavy metal, a lot of the bands are all already older guys anyway. You
sure.
know, like I mean, Helvet's Port, I think of them as a new band, but they formed like only a year after I was born.
Yeah, they've been around
But they've had
since like
super,
2001 or some shit,
yeah, yeah,
which
that's right, that's right. So they're
ironically,
actually older than me.
which ironically is a great point to bring up right now
Yeah,
because I was editing Tomas's interview
yeah,
because he is on the Friday the 13th episode of the Metal Forge.
nice.
So by the time we're recording this, this is me pulling back the curtain to the listeners and watchers out there. So by the time we're recording this, this is Friday the 6th, and um, Tomas, I'm gonna totally spoil it for you. You are mentioned in this interview because we talk about you and losing the vocalist and everything and how he's giving you some pretty cool advice in it. And yeah, I totally get that. And again, it's like the thing of what you said. They've been around like 21 or 22 years,
Yeah,
or 25 years or something like that. It's something crazy. We talk about it in the interview, and it's just like also in today's episode with Sonia. Nobody understands that Sonia has been around for a decade,
oh
or
wow.
that Midnight has been around over 20 years now. And,
Oh yeah,
and Haunt has been around almost 10 years.
yeah, that's right, that's right. Yeah,
So, yeah, I mean, like when you get into the point now and where Tomas might be in his early 40s or mid 40s, that he was your age when he started Helvetic Port, that yeah, you totally have nothing but time. And it's always building towards something. And sure, there's breaks that happen, there's injuries that occur, there's member changes that happen, but you can always pick it back up.
yeah, for sure. I mean, luckily too, is the saying is, Brody's said it to other people. I don't know if he's really gonna want me to say this, but he's told me like, oh, Dylan's a creative force of the band, and because he wrote Spiritual Chains, but like everything else, like I wrote the music for,
Sure.
or well, on the first demo, the other two songs I wrote the music and lyrics for, and I'm the one who came up with the band name. I asked him, if he liked it, obviously, and I designed the logo, and I'd manage like all of our social media stuff. So regardless of if that's really like the best way to do it, I'm pretty much like the ideas guy anyway. So
Sure, no, I get that. And I think every band has that guy
yeah,
or girl or person. And it always usually comes down to the other and one other instrumentalist that's
yeah,
like the two people in the band that overall get the idea and
mhm,
want the idea to succeed.
yeah.
So, yeah, I totally get behind that.
I mean, you can look at a
So,
band like, oh, I'm sorry.
oh
I
no,
have
go
bad
ahead.
habit of that. I mean, you can look at a band like Uriah Heep, where it's just like a constant revolving door of members, and Mick Box is like the only really constant guy. I think their current vocalist they've had since like the 80s or something like that.
Sure.
But or more infamously, like Yngwie Malmsteen with Rising Force,
Oh
revolving
yeah,
door.
absolutely. And even Ozzy to a lesser degree
Mhm.
of musicians, and I'm not saying like lesser degree. So like he's always had a revolving door of like I think the only one person who has been like in everything is like John Sinclair.
Yeah,
And and he was never really ever seen on stage or anything. He was never part of the actual live band. He was
yeah,
part of the live band, but like was not a
not actually on the
performing
stage.
member. Yeah, he was offside stage. Um, but and I think that's pretty cool too when you fall upon like take like a Motorhead for example, who
Mhm.
had two classic era lineups. And one of them only lasted like seven
Last couple
years.
years, yeah.
Yeah, like from like 75 to like 83. And then then there was the four-piece lineup for 10 years. And then there was the new classic lineup, the new Coke lineup of Motorhead with Mickey D
Yeah.
and Phil Taylor. Uh or Phil Campbell, sorry. Phil Campbell. That like they had such long tenure with the band. They were in the band longer than the original lineup at that point.
Yeah, there's a lot of
So
bands where it's like that.
oh, for sure. Rob Trujillo is a good one. He's been in the band longer than the previous two bass players combined.
Yeah, that's a bit of a mind screw.
What's that?
I said that's a bit of a mind screw for most people, I think.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that technically he's been, out of a 40-year career, he's been there for half of it. It's wild. But let's go ahead and switch over to
Mhm.
Derailed. And Derailed is 5 random questions about you as a person. They can be any related to anything.
All right.
Um, what in your current room right now is your most valuable possession that you have?
I mean, since I have this Zoom blur activated, it would be kind of a pain for me to show it, but I have my new parts caster in here. It's a
Nice.
Swedish made roasted rosewood neck. It's all rosewood. It has a big CBS headstock, because I mean, obviously I like Silver Mountain and Deep Purple and Rainbow,
It's
all that
got the
stuff.
big headstock though.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
I prefer those.
that's so rotten. Ugh, I cannot stand it.
That's
I am totally small headstock guy when it comes to Fender.
I'm kind of weird and where like I used to not have a strong preference, and now that I have two strats with the big headstock, I can't look at one of them.
Oh, yeah, for me, I can't do it.
Uh,
It's one of those deals. It's just wonky as shit to
mhm.
me.
Yeah, no, I get
Now,
it.
I will say what would be cool is if it was the big CBS, headstock like that, that was reversed.
Yeah, they look cool reversed. I've been wanting to like maybe for my next strat build because I actually just traded with a guy and got like a really cheap beginner strat that I'm gonna completely part out except for the body.
For sure. No, I'm in the middle of changing the Ice Howl bass, the PJ bass that I play in Ice Howl. I want to have a I've never actually had a blacked out bass ever where the neck is black,
Yeah,
the guitar is black. I mean, even with the Spectre right here, it's got the maple neck with the rosewood fingerboard. But I would love to have an ebony fretboarded jazz bass neck that's
yeah, that'll look
finished in
cool.
black also.
I'd honestly like to do the opposite and have a guitar that's just like, I mean, other than the hardware, because that would get a little too ridiculous. Like have a guitar that's completely like white. Like that Tesla guy's like signature Epiphone V, where it's like
Oh,
almost
sure,
entirely
yeah.
white. I thought that was pretty cool. Kind of
That
like
is a
beats the
good
metal
one.
cliche. Um,
Yeah, I mean, doesn't Buckethead play a whited out
Les Paul,
guitar?
yeah,
A
yeah,
whited,
pretty sure.
but it's lacquer neck too. It's finished. The fretboard is finished in white also, and
Yeah, I think I've seen that.
I do believe his hardware is white.
Hmm.
And the only bit of color on the guitar is the kill switch.
Yeah, like that red like arcade button.
Yep, the arcade style button. It's exactly right. Uh, if your name, Dylan Nightingale, was on a product, what would it be on?
Hmm. Well,
And it
what would
can't
I?
be condoms because Gene Simmons is already on there.
I definitely want to be that. Honestly, as cliche as it is, probably like any, music gear related product. I'm really
Sure.
into like DIY
Strings,
gear. Yeah,
the Dylan Nightingale strings, what do you play anything wild like a
I
like
use
a
eights.
You use, wow,
I've used
really?
sevens too, and the sevens actually lasted me a few months. I like totally had to readjust my playing style because I use really thick picks. I have these, this is probably going to be blurry, but these custom Treazon picks, right?
Sure.
They're like the jazz picks. I use like 1.14 millimeter picks and I use eights.
Dude, that's not as an that's pretty I played with another guitar player that did something similar.
Mhm.
He would play on nines, but and it's just interesting. And we were in like D,
Oh
okay?
wow.
So yeah, and he's playing on like nines and shit like that. And he was just, but he uses the fucking jazz picks too, that are like the as thick as he can get them.
For
It's
D,
like,
oh sorry.
ugh. And jazz picks to me, I've got fucking murder mitts, like fucking Marv in Sin City, and like playing that little of a pick. No, I can't do it. I don't. And I'm like an 88 guy. I like the
Yeah.
green. It works for me. These bass players that play on a one, how? I mean, it's just like there's not enough bite there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense for sure.
It's like I like to feel the string in both hands as I'm playing it,
For sure.
and the 88 to me doesn't do that.
It really depends on like the playing style. I mean, obviously, I'm really into Yngwie Malmsteen, Jonas Hansen from Silver Mountain, Richie Blackmore, Lee John Roth, Akira Takasaki, like those type of players. So for that type of control, having the very light strings, because I tuned
Sure.
down to E flat since we released, well, On Fire's in D, but like since that lineup of the band, I've been tuning down to E flat for my main tuning and I just really like the way that feels. I mean,
Hmm.
it might just sound like I'm doing like one of those, like thousands of guys out there who copy like Yngwie's exact setup, but it's just genuinely like a nice feel to me. Um, I just
Sure.
found that
No,
I
I
can
get it.
play a lot faster, and I like doing the bends because they're like a little bit more ridiculous.
No, no, I totally get that. And yeah, I mean, you do with what works and what feels good
Yeah,
overall.
and honestly, because I still use like the skinny top heavy bottom strings sometimes, like if I'm tuning down. A lot of people think the opposite, but honestly, like eights, they really dig into your skin. Like my fingertips are like super cut up from how, thin the high E
Sure.
is.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And see, when I play bass, I actually play on a heavier gauge. I
Yeah, makes
play
sense.
on like a standard gauge is like 45 to 100 or something or whatever. And I'm playing on 55 to 110s,
Damn.
and detuning with it. And honestly, I love them. I mean, they've always felt great to me. They've got that bit of heaviness that I've always wanted. Like being a fan of Motorhead
Oh,
and
for sure.
Jason Newsted and Geezer Butler and Geddy Lee, and just getting that real fat bass tone. I
Yeah.
think that's where I've been, those strings feel good to me. They're the power slinkies.
Oh, nice.
So
I honestly like I mostly get Ernie Ball, but I've tried String Joy. I like those a lot. They're actually pretty good for the money.
you could
Because
probably get a sponsorship from Stringjoy, actually. I
yeah,
mean,
I'll just send them
they
that I
seem
name
to
dropped
they
it.
seem to they seem to throw it out there.
Yeah, I just got to get a couple more Instagram followers.
Sure, sure, sure. Do ghosts and spirits of our deceased loved ones exist, or do you think that's mental projection?
Well, I don't really like, want to force my religious beliefs on anybody, so I won't get too into it. But I'm Eastern Orthodox. So I mean I do believe to an extent, yeah, like once people are reposed, there is an afterlife.
Sure.
So that's basically my extent of belief on
Okay.
that.
Yeah, no, 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 no. I totally get that. And yeah, I mean, it is definitely a belief-based thing, It's
Mhm,
like what do you believe? I am like the one that I do believe in multidimensional things,
mhm.
where we have different different universes and parallel universes and such like that. But, I mean, I just think it's a thing of our condition as people.
I've definitely known a lot of people who had like, paranormal type of experiences, and I don't really want to say too much about them, but I've
Sure.
had some of my own.
Well, and being from now, is Glasgow considered Appalachia?
I don't believe so because of
I
how
didn't
like
know if it
we're
was or not,
South Central.
if that was farther into Eastern
Yeah,
Kentucky,
that's
because
that's more of an Eastern Kentucky thing, I believe.
sure, which is another thing out there that's that way. Like you get some of those older, like Eastern Kentucky people, and they start talking about the H words. You don't want to mention them by name because, they can show up type shit. And yeah, if you know what it is, you know what it is. If you don't, look it up.
Native American
Eastern
cryptids.
Kentucky H word mythology.
Uh,
And yeah, that's some
I'm
wild shit.
definitely into conspiracy theories and stuff like that.
Definitely.
Maybe
Um,
not as much as John Cyrus from Agent Steel, but
oh my gosh. Yes. Um, what is a popular movie out there that you hate?
a lot of them. Honestly, probably most modern comedy movies. Like I do like some pretty stupid comedy movies like Wayne's World and Idiocracy. But
Hey, Wayne's World kicks ass.
no, it does. But some of the newer ones I've seen, like like Ted, for example, like a lot of that is just, stupid, crude humor for the sake of it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a way to, I don't know, it's a way to harken back to his time 20 years ago when society has kind of changed,
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know. No, I totally get that. But no, is there like a popular movie out there that it's nothing like a Star Wars or nothing like that, is it? Like popular movie that's like
I
cult
mean,
classic or some shit, and you're
I
like,
did
yeah, it
like the
fucking sucks.
original. I did like the original trilogy of Star Wars as a kid. Um, I won't lie, I kind of hate how in my generation there's like a lot of this pretentious like, oh, the prequels are actually better than the original trilogy. Like I've seen a lot of that in my generation. It's like, dude, you can
Oh, they
understand
become,
that.
oh, okay. So like apologists.
Yeah, like that type of stuff annoys
So
me.
like I get that because I am an apologist for an album that came
What
out in my
album?
generation. And I am that guy that's 20 years down the road from it saying, you know what? That's still not that bad of an album. The mixing wasn't that great. The snare drum was
Saint
awful.
Anger? You
Bingo,
said
you know
snare
exactly
drum.
what it
You made
is.
it too obvious.
But I am an apologist for that album today because lyrically, it's not a bad album.
Now I totally get that because there's a lot of bands where like, the Gen Xer elitist and like the Scandinavian metalheads will say, "Oh, this album sucks. The band went commercial, but I like them." Like this is a more infamous example, but I honestly don't think Celtic Frost glam metal album is that bad. Cold Lake. I mean,
Hmm.
it's really just like a kind of cheesy 80s heavy metal album, really.
Sure.
It's doesn't sound glam
And yeah,
metal.
and that's always the album that everybody just like is like blah blah blah. Okay, last meal. What
Hmm.
would be your last meal?
Either some kind of like Italian dish, or it would be like Greek food, maybe like a gyro, a really good gyro.
Okay.
I'm a fan of
Now,
Mediterranean
when
food.
you do the gyro, do you get like the rice with it and the tzatziki with the rice
Yeah,
and get it loaded down like full on like
yeah,
all the
for sure.
veggies and all the black olives and everything?
Yeah, the Kalamata olives, hell yeah. Like
Yeah.
if it was gonna be my last meal ever, it would definitely be that. Because I mean, it would have to be somewhat filling, I would guess.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Well, see, for me, like I can do the vegetables, but like I don't like to have it like the meat to vegetable ratio.
Oh yeah, for
You
sure.
know, it has to have like more protein than veg. So like yeah, I totally that's the reason why I'm asking because like for me, the last meal, it's totally gonna be just the fucking meat gyro. It's it and the tzatziki sauce fucking loaded down in the fucking in the flatbread. Fuck, it's done. uh Dude, Dylan, thank you so fucking much. I have
Mm-hmm.
one more question,
Yeah.
but before we get into it, as always, links are listed below. So give the like, the share, and the follow. Do the thing and all the stuff. Go to the Bandcamp pages, buy the merch, buy the singles, do whatever you can do. Go see these dudes at the Big Goddamn Metal Show on Friday, the 11th of October. And then, stay around for the whole weekend because Sanhedrin is headlining night two, along with Icehound Joe Grudge. Um, Son of a bitch, I can't see my flyer to name off all the bands.
No
Vexing
Midnight
Hex
Hellions
is
one.
there, Idle Throne, fucking Lavaborn, Total Rad fucking people, Ulm, Midnight Hellion, and Treason and Windrider. I think I got everybody. I think I named one person twice, even. Because okay, so like I recently had a passing of a cat,
Oh, sorry
and
for
I had to, and because they would be out in the main house, like being able to interact with each other, I would always shut the door to the Metal Forge, which is where the flyers are that are upcoming shows. So since that has happened, I've been leaving the door open more so she
that.
can come in here and sit down on the table or whatever she wants to do.
Yeah.
Uh, so I've been leaving the door open and that's where it's at. So if you hear a little bit of an echo in my voice in these episodes, that's why. Dude, Dylan, thank you again. Do you have any shout outs you want to give to anybody today? I'm sure, there's a ton of people. Go ahead.
All right. Okay. So first of all, I'll give a shout out to Randy for giving, me the first big opportunity for my band. Want to give a shout out to Emil, who I've not really heard from in a while. Emil Omen, Rare and Obscure Metal Archives, Heavy Metal Rarities, Black Ritz Records. I'll give a shout out to Joe Steele since he did an interview with us recently for Killer Magazine. Um, give a shout out to Thomas from Helvet's Port for mentioning me in the last interview he did with you. Shout out to my parents. Shout out to Brody. And yeah, that's about it for shout outs.
Hell yeah, man. Definitely. And you did mention some awesome people in there. Definitely shout out to Randy. Um, we played his fest a couple of years ago with Overload, and that was a fun weekend. It was stressful as hell being in your 40s and then going out on the road with your band.
Yeah,
When you haven't been out on the road for a minute, right? And
yeah.
then you've all become like grumpy old man, like get off my lawn. It's like, Jesus, you drive like a maniac. Shit like that, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, but we got out and got up to Club Garibaldi in Milwaukee and played that show, and it was rad as fuck.
Yeah, I honestly just slept on most of my way to Blades of Steel.
I
So
drove
I
the
mean, it's a
entire
nine
way
hour
up.
drive, So
Sure, and it was 8 for us, so you got that extra hour.
yeah, make it
But
even
uh,
longer.
but at least with them, you stayed in the same time zone essentially.
Yeah, luckily
Yeah.
it wasn't that weird.
Oh,
Actually, a couple more shout outs since we're mentioning
sure.
Blades of Steel. Want to give a shout out to the guys from Tundra in Ohio. They've been supportive of us, like I mean, ever since they saw we were on the same bill. Want to give a shout out to Telomeras. I believe that's how they pronounce the band name. They're very nice. And I also want to give a shout out to Acero Latal from Chile. And gosh, I'm trying to think who else. Oh, also the guys from Metal Haven Records in Chicago.
Shit, yeah, man. Hell yeah. So, final question of the day.
Hmm.
Why do you think the flat Earth conspiracy still has traction today.
Okay, that's an interesting one. I mean, I don't want to say anything hyper negative, but obviously, a lot of people believe anything they read. I
Sure.
mean, you can say that for anybody, like regardless of affiliation or beliefs. It's like, they'll just believe something because, oh, so and so person said this, or so and so article I read online said this, or so and so celebrity I follow believes this, blah blah blah. I mean, that's basically how
Right.
something like that gets traction. I do gotta say, there's like a flat Earth music scene. There's like flat Earth like pop country artists. I remember when I was
I
younger, I
just
had a
know
lot more
like
free
AJ
time. I saw
Styles, the wrestler AJ Styles it was a flat earther.
it.
And I don't know. It's interesting to me. It's like how do you denounce science and technology, I guess, that like you only get to see one side of the earth, but we watch it rotate, right?
We can see the moon, and I mean, it at least is spherical looking.
Sure.
Yeah. No, I
It's
mean,
all the Truman Show. We're
that's a
just the
good movie.
players, we're just the players in somebody else's Truman Show. That's what it is.
Oh my God, you made me just think of this really crappy like emo song that I unintentionally found online. It's
Oh
like My
gosh.
Life is Like a Video Game. Look it up,
Wow.
like seriously, if you want to torture yourself to some terrible music, because a guy like pronounces coins in like a very obnoxiously nasally way.
Oh no, 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 I can't do it.
I'm one of those
Uh
guys who hates like any video game related music. Like
oh
not
yeah,
like not like music from video games, but like, regular songs written about video games. Like that's
sure,
always
I
been kind of a
understand.
weird topic.
Yeah, I get it. I guess there's an audience for everybody,
Yeah.
which is cool. Dude, on our way out today, what song do you want to play from Treason?
As a send-off song,
Yeah,
probably go with Victim of Treason. That's honestly my favorite one.
awesome. You heard him. This is Victim of Treason. Yeah.
For 45 years and keeping Louisville weird, Electric Ladyland has been there for all your eccentricities. While they do offer the best smoking supplies out on the market today, there's a whole lot more to check out. From ashtrays and blacklight posters, to records, incense and burners, and items to stock your metaphysical supply. They're open from 10 to 10, 7 days a week. Located at 2325 Bardstown Road in Louisville, Kentucky, and at electricladyland420.com. Roll out.
Hey metalheads, you like tattoos? Of course you do. If you're in the Louisville, Kentucky area, come on over the bridge to Clarksville, Indiana, and get you some ink done at Ageless Art. If ink isn't your thing, they have a piercing studio as well. Visit agelessartclarksville.com to see some frequently asked questions, meet the staff. The shop is open Monday through Thursday, 12 to 8 p.m., Saturdays, 12 to 10 p.m., and Sundays, 12 to 6 p.m., all appointment-only spots. You can set up your appointments by phone at 812-283-1793 or email agelessarttattooandpiercing@gmail.com, and someone will get you set up for your first or your next tattoo or piercing.
Hey metalheads, after going to a rager, what's your ultimate go-to? Mine is totally pizza. So when Overload is playing, or I'm promoting the Metal Forge live showcases, or the big goddamn metal show, I go to Pizza DoNisi. Pizza DoNisi is gourmet artisan pizza from right here in Louisville, Kentucky. It features things like the pizza of the month, the sandwiches, and also vegetarian and vegan options, which is so totally fucking cool for all of it's awesome pizza. You definitely want to go. Hey, and also from time to time they do cannolis. Oh, so fucking good. You know what they said, man? Leave the gun, take the cannoli. Yeah, just like that in Godfather. They're located right next to the Mag Bar at 1396 South 2nd Street. So either stop in or call in at 502-213-0488. They're open till midnight. The witching hour.
Heineken, fuck that shit! Pabst Blue Ribbon!
Hey metalheads, you all hear me talk about Mag Bar all the time. It is the home to the Metal Forge live showcases and is an integral stop in the ultimate underground metal tour schedule. They obviously feature live music, but the Mag Bar also has daily specials like Pint and Slice Night on Tuesdays with Pizza DoNisi. But they also do Bring Your Own Vinyl on Thursdays with DJ Kent Jackson, and Finer Things Sundays. Located right next to Pizza DoNisi at 1398 South 2nd Street, open 3 p.m. to 4 a.m. 7 days a week. Get your asses out to the Mag Bar. Rock out. In 2017, one man's vision and passion for all things metal started out as a record store in his house. Years later, the fight against a mainstream empire continues as Shade Beast. An independent metal collective and online store based in Athens, Georgia, is the world's premier heavy metal brand for music heads that value authenticity over the mainstream acceptance.
featuring original t-shirts from some of the best underground artists, as well as stickers, posters from the Shade Beast Presents concert series. Unique, one-of-a-kind collectibles and small curated selection of vinyl and cassettes from the masters old and new. Visit shadebeast.com and enter promo code SithLord for free domestic shipping on your first order, whether you're a new customer or returning. And be sure to join the Shade Beast social groups on Facebook and the interwebs to keep up with the new release announcements and talk all things metal and Star Wars. You'll never find a more wretched hive of scum and filth.
Welcome to the night. You think you know Night Demon? Then the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast is for you. Step into the darkness as we peel back the curtain to give you an unprecedented, all-access look into the mind and the heart of the demon. We're talking band history, song analysis, studio anecdotes, stories from the road. It's everything a diehard Night Demon fan could want and more. This is the only place to learn the inside scoop, the deep dive trivia, the untold tales from the band members themselves and those closest to the Night Demon story. Need more? The Sacred Night Demon Crypt will be pried open to reveal demo recordings that have never before seen the light of day, all with in-depth commentary by the band and the people who were there for the writing and recording process. This is a gold mine, a treasure trove of all things Night Demon. Head over to nightdemon.net or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Since 2013, there has been a calling from the underground, from the graves of all those unholy, and they decided to make a zine to talk about all of this. Soul Grinder Zine! An independent metal zine to keep you informed on all things metal and horror from the underground. Available in both print and digital formats, they're bringing you the best interviews and reviews out there today. Not only do they do the zine, but they also do compilation CDs. Check them out at facebook.com/soulgrinder.zine and start your subscription now.
Hey everybody, let me tell you about the new sponsor to the Metal Forge, Unchained Tapes. They're an independent Pennsylvania tape label. They focus on extreme metal and punk with a killer approach to the tape scene. Visit their web store at unchainedtapes.bigcartel.com now to get your fill of tapes. And for being a Metal Forge listener, enter the code METALFORGE10 at checkout to get a 10% discount on your total purchase. That's unchainedtapes.bigcartel.com.
What's up, Metal Forge fans? This is Alan Bishop, the alchemist of Indiana's Black Forest and head distiller at Spirits of French Lick. Do you find yourself drawn to the unexplained, fascinated by the Fortean, or enchanted by the paranormal? If the things that go bump in the night resonate in your mind, then tune into my brand new podcast, If You Have Ghosts, You Have Everything. Featuring first-hand accounts, collected stories, interviews, history, and speculation related to all things not of this world. Available now on Anchor, Spotify, Google, Amazon, and more. Set back, relax, and remember, if you have ghosts, you have everything.
Hey, let me tell you guys about Mercenary Press. They're an independent London label and distributor of all things metal. Mercenary Press delivers the goods from their own independent zine. Trust me, you're going to want to get in on that. to distributing various bands from all over the world, including Cramp from Spain and Sadistic Force from Texas. Visit mercenarypress.bigcartel.com to find out what all they have in stock and what you can order. And for Metal Forge listeners, enter code METALFORGE10 to receive a discount on your total purchase at mercenarypress.bigcartel.com. Check it out now.